Kevin Arnold and Nick Paulus.
After the week that was in Cleveland sports news and conversations, I am really glad we have a special guest, Jordan Klimak, joining us tonight from ESPN Cleveland to talk basketball. Yeah, we'll talk a little football with him, but I am so glad that more of the conversation is going to be on basketball tonight because we have not had a good Voice of the Land reality check on here. If you asked me a few days ago, I would not have been in a good place to clap back at some people to give them a reality check in Cleveland sports nation out there in the world. But today, we do have our special guest coming on. Really looking forward to talking basketball. Of course, even though the Cavs did lose in the mecca of basketball against the New York Knicks on Friday night, they got another chance tonight playing at 8 p.m. up in Minnesota. So we will get into all of that with our special guest starting around 7:15. But with that, we welcome you to another edition of The Voice of the Land, a Big Play production and partner with Web Streaming Studio by LPV Productions. Remember, you can always follow the show across most social media platforms on Twitter and Instagram at VTL_pod. That is at VTL_POD. On Facebook at Voice of the Land, and on YouTube at Voice of the Land Podcast. If you're watching us live, be sure to comment all of your thoughts in the comment section attached to the live stream that you're watching on, whether on our Twitter or Facebook page, Big Play's Facebook or YouTube page, or even the Sportscaster app. We will try to get to as many comments of yours as we can. And the phone line we kind of talked about when we first started with Big Play, that is still in the works. That is coming. Now that the Brown season is done, a little bit more time to bring those elements into the show as well to get a little bit more of your interaction into the show and get some of your thoughts out there because sometimes it's hard to write it all out in a comment. You just want to jump on the phone. You just want to call in.
Absolutely.
You want to get those thoughts in.
Immediate reactions.
Oh. But, of course, if you miss any part of the show, you can always tune into the replay across all those platforms. And hey, you just want to listen to the audio? We always post it, as we always have, on all the major podcast platforms once we are done on Google, Spotify, and Apple. I am one of your hosts, Kevin Arnold, and you can follow me at Kevin7. The spelling will be right down there with my name as it pops up throughout the show, as with Paulus's Twitter handle as well. I am joined by my brother, the aforementioned Nick Paulus. Words are hard, but oh so fun.
Absolutely.
Follow him at CLE Paulus. And again, I am at Kevin7 because, I always come through in the clutch when it matters most. I've missed that the last few weeks. I had to make sure I got that.
You had to nail this one.
Had to nail this one. Had
Absolutely.
to get that tagline in. And, of course, behind the proverbial glass, our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tillip. Follow and reach out to him through LPV Productions' main social media sites across all of those platforms. I've even considered getting us a TikTok, but looking at TikTok and doing some research.
You know what?
I don't know.
And
I don't know, man.
I wanted to bring that up. Might be a sponsorship opportunity.
If we get a TikTok?
Possibly.
Oh.
Possibly. Well, we got to look into it a little bit more. Obviously. But
that's off mic, though, right? We can't.
Too late. So,
well, tease for you coming soon.
Teases.
So now it's out there. If you want to sponsor us on TikTok,
if you hit up
Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look like fools doing it. So, absolutely, can't wait for that.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Are you talking about we're going to do all the dances and everything?
Maybe.
Oh, well.
If the sponsorship's right.
There's one TikTok account, and as soon as I saw 2 videos from it during the heat of the NFL playoffs when they first kicked off.
Yeah.
This guy goes by @WeHoopin on TikTok.
Okay.
And he's a big Baltimore Ravens fan, so he shows some sports knowledge, but as soon as the Baltimore Ravens come into the conversation, there is absolutely no lack it lacks any sort of context and reality. It
just goes all out the window.
It's all out the window.
Yeah.
It's all out the windows. And he always closes every single TikTok by saying, "I called it." I was like, "Psst," and you're not calling anything on my page ever. I can't listen to that every single time if I go on there. But I have been doing some research. So if there's a sponsorship connection for us on TikTok, I've been doing some research on how to get things going with that. So we'll talk. we'll talk off air.
Absolutely.
We'll get things going. But we are going to be, as I said, we are going to be joined by our special guest, Jordan Klimak, here in just a few minutes at 7:15 from ESPN Cleveland. Going to get his thoughts on anything that the conversations about the Browns and more so about the Cavs, because he is big into basketball, and we'll kind of look NBA-wide as well as the season is really getting into full gear. But before we get into anything today, I do want to ask you guys real quick the big question that I know everybody tuning in wants to know our answers to.
Sure.
And no, it's not, would you trade to have Deshaun Watson as our quarterback and not Baker Mayfield?
God, that got so much freaking traction this week.
I know.
That was nuts. That was nuts.
You know the hot button question I have for you guys?
What's that?
Did you guys make any money in the stock market this week, or do you have any money invested?
Do we have stock tips?
Yeah, do you have any stock tips for anybody?
You know, I wish I could say yes. I wish I could be like, you know what? Yeah, I invested in AMC. I invested in GameStop, especially GameStop. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, no. I didn't. I got late to the party on that. Apparently, because I don't know the stocks that well, and we are not we're just gonna come out there like I don't make any money doing that sort of stuff. But I know a couple of buddies. I'm not going to say their names just in case, they want to be, held back, a little bit. But they got 50, couple of shares in AMC as well as GameStop there for us, some close friends of ours. And it looks like it's going to explode tomorrow. Like over the next couple of days, from what I've read, from what they've been sending me, obviously, it looks like it's going to explode here like Tuesday, Wednesday is whenever the price is supposed to go sky high. And then that's whenever people are going to look at possibly selling that. And I know a lot of people are like, hold, hodor, basically. But yeah, no. So I know a couple of people like that. I know what's that, the doggy or
the Dogecoin.
Dogecoin. Okay. Yep. So I was talking to Kelly about that real quick. I was like, you know what? Like it's at like 2 cents right now. You know, like if you throw in, you throw in $100, and it goes up to 4 cents. You just doubled up, basically.
Yeah.
If it were to go up to $1, which is what they were trying to get it to go up to, I mean, if you have $200 in there, that's like, what is that, like 20%, 20% increase or something like that? I mean, you're looking at like $4,000 if it goes up to $1. It hasn't gone higher than like 7 cents, over the last year. So I highly doubt that's going to be happening. But a lot of people are getting really involved in that sort of stuff. I just don't know enough about it, and it's sad. I'm a 32-year-old guy. Like I wish I knew more about stocks and trades, bonds, and hedge funds and all that sort of stuff. I'm not rich enough for a hedge fund, but I would like to know more about that stuff. So I am going to learn up on it and then hopefully catch, the next gravy train after that. But right now I completely missed the boat.
See, I'm nowhere near financially intellectual to know any of that
financially
stuff.
stable enough to do any, to be messing with the stock market.
That's a better way to describe it. I'm not financially stable enough to know anything about that, but I'm also not street smart enough to know and catch on to these trends when they happen. Like the only thing I've learned.
This all happened because of Reddit, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
The only thing I learned this week was that on Twitter, if you use the $, it still causes a trend and turns blue just like a hashtag does. That's all I got. That's all I learned. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Peter, any money?
I will have to. I don't have any money in GameStop or AMC.
Right.
The funny thing is, I do have like what the heck was it? It wasn't E-Trade. I do have like one of those investing
like Ameritrade.
I think it's Ameritrade.
Okay.
But I never, like, a buddy of mine said, set this up, you set up an account, blah blah blah. But I never like put any money in it.
Right.
So because of that, I couldn't like buy anything. And then when the whole GameStop thing started blowing up, it's like they block. You couldn't even do anything with it. So
about Robinhood, because that's the thing that is like killed everyone's spirits. So one of our close mutual friends. He didn't say he was going to pull out, pull out his money.
Yeah.
But he was tempted to, and they told him that he couldn't. Like they told him like, no,
I heard that story. Yeah,
you can't do it.
That's a mess.
Yeah, so it was a complete mess. Like they lost out on making like $6 on the share, but $6 on the share is pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad. Unfortunately, they told him no, you can't. Oh, we'll get to it. And then they like just straight up canceled, like the sellout,
that's crazy,
which is completely illegal from my understanding. And once again, I don't know much about the stock market.
There's like already lawsuits.
It's going
mess.
Crazy right now.
Well, and then they were also stopping new people from jumping in to buy shares.
Right.
That was like the first thing, and they were saying all you could do was sell. You couldn't come in and buy certain stocks. But then people couldn't sell. They couldn't get out. They couldn't get their money out if they had made money or if they were, losing or basically almost back to even.
Yeah.
It was they were trying to get their money out and they couldn't. And it's weird that Robinhood, who the whole moniker of Robinhood is.
It's completely opposite.
It's completely really opposite. It's supposed to be take from the rich, give to the poor. It was the poor found a way to kind of make some money.
Right.
And now you're going to take from them after they found a way to not be as poor.
Yeah. No, it's
completely messed up.
It's completely messed up all the way through.
I guess I did lose money in games, though, in video games, but in a good way. Because, in
a good way? You lost money?
Yeah, because... I went with the girlfriend to, she had a quick thing for work.
Okay, yeah.
Quick trip to work, and we were out there in the Ashtabula area. So we took the long way home through Geneva on the Lake and, some like those old town type places. And there was a vintage video game shop.
Nice.
Video Game Nirvana in, I believe it was Madison. Okay. And the guy kind of working the register today said he had heard of our show. He's going to try to tune in tonight. So shout out to them. I mean, there's no sponsorship or anything. I'm just saying, like, I was
open to it.
What's weird is my parents never let me get any of the Pokemon games for my Game Boy.
Growing up,
they were like against those games or whatever.
Sure.
I had to get one, and then
of course
we got a couple more vintage video games.
Well,
today.
there you go. I was going to say real quick, I did the Dogecoin.
Yeah,
I did buy some. Mm-hmm. So I got about 5,000 of them.
Okay.
Because they were like 2 cents.
Yeah, super cheap.
They're up to about 3.5 cents.
I was gonna say.
So
last I checked, it was like 4.5.
I've made a little bit of money. They've been up and down. I made a little bit of money, but I'm, hey, if I got maybe $150 invested in this right now.
Okay.
If it goes up to $1, I'll just sit on it. If it goes up to $1,
you might as well.
That's like $5,000.
Absolutely.
I'll take it. So
that's the whole point behind it. Yeah.
So. Yeah, we're trying to make some money there. Now we do have Jordan Climack ready to jump in with us. Before we get there, though, we do want to make sure we mention, in terms of sponsorships, we've kind of alluded to sponsorships this whole time. We do want to mention DP Construction LLC. You can reach out to them at 330-217-4999. That is 330-217-4999. And I know, Paulus, if you get to them on Facebook, you can see a lot of the work that they've done for concrete construction.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, they'll go anywhere, all over Northeast Ohio. I mean, if you need some help out in Youngstown, I guarantee you they'll hit you up and go out there. No doubt.
No doubt. And you can always reach out to Tyler LaFrada, our buddy, a supporter of the show, and decided to support in a different way through sponsoring with his new company he started with him and Uncle Steve. You can reach out to him at through email. You can actually send him an email if you have some kind of questions about maybe things you're thinking about, things you're not sure if you should get done or not. Reach out to him, tylerlafrada@gmail.com, or hit that message button on the Facebook page at DP Construction LLC. As you're going through the pictures, hit that message button, and they'll give you a quote. They'll give you some information. Make it known whether you should or shouldn't get into those concrete construction needs. So again, that number is 330-217-4999. Thank you so much to DP Construction LLC for sponsoring The Voice of the Land. And with that, we do turn things over. We do want to welcome in our guest, a buddy and friend of show who joined us on our NFL draft, our live broadcast of the NFL draft back in April. And we'll talk as time goes on if we're going to do anything like that again moving forward. But Jordan Climack, a producer and content teammate over at ESPN Cleveland. Jordan, thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get into anything, got to know, we've been talking about the stocks. If we got our money in there, did you win any money this week kind of investing in GameStop or AMC or something like that? Dogecoin?
So it's funny you mentioned that, guys. So I found out this week, I guess I'm not stock guy.
Neither are we.
I guess I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not well versed in that industry. I'm not well versed in stocks. So I guess it was kind of just like, just got this new check. Kind of just keep that in your pocket. Don't try and put it all over the market. Lose a bunch of money. So I guess it comes down to I guess I'm not one of those FOMO guys. Like, were you guys like FOMO, like everyone's doing it, everyone's talking about it, I want to get in on it, kind of just to be a part of the conversation.
The Dogecoin. I
thought about it for that reason, but I was like,
the Dogecoin is the only one that I was like, you know what, I should jump on, because it's 2 cents.
Right.
It's 2 cents. You throw $100 on it, you double up if it goes to 4. So like I thought about doing something like that. I ended up not doing, not taking the bait on it. Kelly actually gave me the okay, because you obviously have to ask the wife.
Right.
I didn't ask the wife.
Okay. Some of us don't, but no, so I asked Kelly and she was like, I guess you can, but but I avoided it because I want to read up more about it.
All I can say is the most difficult part was trying to buy it, because I actually had to do a Cash App, buy Bitcoin through Cash App, and then send Bitcoin to a place where I could actually buy the Dogecoin, which, I mean, it was like all these hoops to jump through.
Right.
And every one of those little places is making like a little money, like $1 here, $1 there, like on the fees or whatever. But still, by the time I like took the Bitcoin and transferred it over, the Bitcoin fluctuated enough that I had more money than I paid in fees. So I'm like, screw it.
It's all over the place right now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean, basically, I wanted to jump in because everybody was talking about it, but then the only other thing I could gather was, well, the amount of the shares already went up, so I feel like my money wouldn't go up as much because I didn't buy low. I'd be buying high when it already was high, so it's like,
right.
I was kind of hoping there would be a big dip, and then try to bring it back one last time and jump in that way.
Give it time. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see how it goes. But like I said, Jordan, thank you so much for jumping on with us. Just want to start here. Of course, the conversation around town this week, somehow it got to this point. I don't know how. Browns go to the playoffs. They win a wild card game. They beat the Steelers for the first time in Heinz Field in 17 years. They go 11-5, all in a pandemic. It seems like all the pieces are fitting together. We just need to figure out this defense, and yet that old quarterback conversation still comes back here in Cleveland. Your thoughts on if it was even a consideration for you when you heard Deshaun Watson put in officially requested to be traded from the Houston Texans, if it ever crossed your mind for the Browns to try to look to make a change at quarterback?
Hell no.
That's why you're our friend, Jordan.
So I just ate dinner, guys. I don't know, like, do you want to see me throw up my dinner
to regurgitate? No,
right
no.
Here and it was Skyline Chili, by the way. So I mean, I don't.
Oh boy, yeah. I'm just gonna keep looking at the camera like I'm looking at you, then, not because I'm not looking to my left where I can see you out of the corner of my eye.
So are you guys Skyline Chili guys, or
no? God, no. Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
Is this Cincinnati? No. Come on.
No, it's not Cincinnati, but I mean, what do you like, good food or not?
I'm just not chili.
Yeah, I do. I don't like Skyline Chili.
I'm just not chili guy.
Fair enough.
I'm not a chili guy.
That's why, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's either you love it or you absolutely can't stand even the sight of it. So, but no, guys, Kevin, to get back to your question about Baker and if I ever considered that for a second, I of course I said hell no. And like, I look at it this way: you have a franchise quarterback, and I'm 26 years old. We're all around the same age, guys. How long have we been waiting for this? It's like I'm sitting here like I'm praying for like a wife or something like that. Like, I'm also sitting here. I've been praying for like a franchise quarterback for 26 years. Like,
yeah,
like, it's just all I wanted ever as a Browns fan. Like, give me a quarterback, give me a guy to be in our corner, a guy that we can go to war with. A guy that's going to embrace the city and the city's going to embrace him back. Like, that's all I've been looking for 26 years, and we finally got him. And now we want to talk about like, well, could we possibly maybe upgrade? Like, stop, shut the hell up, please. I'm sick of hearing these. Like, I really am. I'm sick of hearing this, guys. Like, Like we have this is the trade that was proposed, and shout out to Bill Barnwell, I guess that guy like
I guess yeah
threw it into like a field with a bunch of yarn and just watched it.
I think he said there was 16 possible trades for Deshaun, right? 16
or 17.
And we were 14.
You know,
Yeah.
to his credit though, this was further down the list.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, man, like he literally set a fire and just watched the whole place go ablaze, and he's like watching down, laughing at everyone just going crazy right now. But you know, here's where I got lost in this whole trade conversation. The second I saw the name Odell Beckham Jr. in trade. Okay, like we can sit here and we can talk about Deshaun Watson versus Baker Mayfield. In my opinion, there's tiers to NFL quarterback, franchise quarterback, right? You got your tier ones, you got Tom Brady, you got Aaron Rodgers, you got Patrick Mahomes, obviously, you probably have Russell Wilson in there as well. Then you get to the tier twos of, you know, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons. I'd probably put Baker in there. Tier threes, Dak Prescott's, those guys that haven't quite won a playoff game yet. So like I probably put Deshaun Watson in tier 2, right? Like I think he belongs in tier 2 with Baker, Lamar, and Josh Allen and those guys. So they're pretty equal, pretty level playing field when you're talking about Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson. So you're saying that you have a franchise quarterback in the Browns and you have a franchise quarterback in the Texans. Again, if you want to trade those for one for one, I guess I can kind of listen to that, even though it doesn't make sense because of, you know, let's watch Baker develop in one system for the first time and not have to bring in another guy who needs to learn a system. Like we have a system in place that works. We have a coaching staff that works well with the players. Let's grow with our 3 coaches and this roster. Like that's where we need to go. I get that Baker and Deshaun are close. Look, I put probably, if we're being realistic, I probably put Deshaun maybe a half footstep better than Baker right now. A half footstep. That's not a lot. Baker can make up that half ground. Deshaun can make up that half ground. They're very close. Maybe the slight edge to Deshaun. Maybe. You throw Odell in there. Now you're talking about a franchise quarterback for a franchise quarterback. And then the Browns are going to give up a wide receiver who, when healthy, very good wide receiver, premier wide receiver in the NFL. On top of probably a draft pick, like no, just stop. That's when it became
first round picks,
right?
On top of 2 first round picks,
like come on, that's nuts, man. Like I said, I will listen to the Baker for Deshaun thing just because it is closer than I think a lot of people give us credit, or you know, a lot of Clevelanders want to admit. It's closer, it is, no doubt. But like, let's just be realistic here as Browns fans. It's like just chill for a second. You know, smoke a cigarette if you have to. pour a drink. Take a deep breath. Just like
smoke what you got.
Sit back and be like, look, we have a franchise quarterback. Let's chill. It's fine. Like, are we so used? Have we become so accustomed to the quarterback conversation that like we get one and it's even like, well, I don't know. Like, ask the NBA players. Like, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, guys.
No, I think you're 100% right, Jordan. I mean, you're looking at it from the standpoint that I think all 3 of us here in the studio are all in agreement with that as well. The thing that got me was like, I agree with you, Jordan. I think that Deshaun is a little bit better than Baker. He also has another year in the NFL. I think he only has 3 more wins than Baker does.
Like 3 or 5.
It's like 3 or 5, you know, in that year time frame there for us. Baker and Deshaun both have the same playoff wins. You know, they're both at 1 there for us. And I think that Baker has developed so much over the last half of this year that we saw even without Odell out there. I mean, he went, 19 with like 2 interceptions, you know, the last 10 games of the year. I mean, he was fantastic. The thing that gets me, though, going back to the main portion of this, is that, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're not trading Baker for Deshaun.
Right.
You're trading Baker 2 ones, you know, a premier top 10 when healthy wide receiver, as well as I believe a 3rd round pick straight up for Deshaun. Like, that is the most blasphemous thing I have ever heard someone just throw out there. And then you see, you know, the comments from Dog Pound Daily, I believe, where Baker retweeted it and said, you know, some of these Browns fans, you know, you got to laugh at them, basically.
He's right, though. We do have to laugh at them.
Absolutely. Especially especially whoever posted that story. Like, we had the question on the Next Level the other day that it was, you know, are you a real Browns fan if you're a, you know, if you wanted to complete that trade? Like, there's no reason why you would ever want to do that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand where this comes from or anything, but Jordan, I know that you mentioned Odell Beckham in that, and we want to see for the most part, a lot of us that are thinking realistically, we want to see Baker in this system in year 2 actually go from 1 year in the NFL to the next with all the same coaching staff, the same verbiage, mostly the same players around. Of course, there'll be some change, and that's inevitable in the business of sports with those free agents. But Odell Beckham could be one of those guys to come back and add something to this team as long as he is 100% healthy. Where do you stand then on the Odell Beckham conversation? Because everybody was trying to say Baker was better without him. I would argue that he was able to progress and just focus on going through his actual progressions. I want to see this Baker with Odell where he has solidified himself as the leader, and if Odell doesn't buy in, he won't be here longer than that, but I at least want to see them try that. Where do you stand with Odell Beckham Jr.?
The age-old question, right? It's like, is Bigfoot real? Is
Are there
is
aliens?
COVID ever going to end?
Yeah.
Are the Browns better without Odell? Those are the questions now that everyone has to go through, daily life asking themselves. But it's tough. It really is tough because as much as I want to sit back here and say that it's blasphemous to even think that, and it kind of is, like the stats back it up. Like, I don't want to be that guy, like, numbers don't lie. I mean, I guess numbers don't lie though. I mean, you go back to his rookie year and everything he did, and then, everything that happened. I think it was more of a coincidence and kind of just like just unlucky for Odell that, that injury happened when it happened. Because to your point, Nick, like, we want to see this thing develop. We want to see, like, we had questions about Baker earlier in the year, right? Like the first couple of weeks of the year, it was like, did he really get better? It kind of seems like, I go back to that Steelers game in Pittsburgh, the Minkah Fitzpatrick interception that kind of ended the game before it started, per se. And, you watch Baker and he kind of gets fooled by this guy's coverage. And Minkah Fitzpatrick takes that touchdown to the house. And just like that, the game kind of seemed like it was over. And I remember watching that. I was like, that's the same mistake that he would have made last year. Like, is he getting better? Is he progressing in the system? And then, you change the conversation to 5 weeks down the line and everything that he's doing. We saw him get comfortable in the system. I think that, you can say Odell, the Browns are better without Odell. I get that. But to me, it's more of everyone got comfortable in this system at the same time, right? Like we kind of saw Baker start to blossom and, we were getting wins in bad weather situations. Like I kind of throw those games away in terms of evaluating Baker Mayfield's standpoint, just because, I mean, they were playing in like tsunamis in off of Lake Erie.
Straight up hurricanes.
For a couple weeks. Yeah, straight up hurricanes. Like winds that I've never seen before. I had to like walk with like grocery bags just to like weigh myself downtown.
Right.
But like I don't judge him off of those games. And so, and you look at what happened after that, you go into the Tennessee game, the end of the Cincinnati game, for me, the season kind of culminated for the Browns offense in Stefanski's system on that Sunday night in New York against the Giants when, you go into MetLife, you're expected to win, right? Like when the Browns don't do well, expected to win ever. They go in there, they take care of business against the Giants. It's a boring win. It's a boring road win against a good NFL team. That's how you know you've arrived. That's how you know the players have arrived in the system. So I think this whole Odell conversation is more along the lines of, look, he had to learn a new offense as well. He had to learn an offense through Zoom, just like the rest of the team did, and it was taking him a while to get involved. I think by this point, by the end of the year, because look, we saw it against the Cowboys, what he did against the Cowboys, and that was still early on in the year when everyone was learning the system. I think if you gave him another 8 weeks in that, I think we would have seen him flourish, maybe have 1 or 2 more games like that Cowboy game. But it's really hard because when you look at the numbers, like I said, it jumps out on you. The interceptions are down, completion percentage is up, touchdowns are up. It's hard to say. I don't think that the Browns are better without Odell, but I'll listen to you if you want to make the argument that he is. Put it that way.
Right. The argument, I guess, makes sense. It just seems still to me outlandish.
Yeah, like see, here's what it started as, like, how in the NBA, like back in the LeBron days, LeBron would sit for like a game the last 2 weeks of the regular season, Cavs would win, and we kind of jokingly are like, the Cavs better without LeBron, knowing that's not true. Like, that's what this Odell thing started as to me, kind of like that joking, playful manner behind it. And then all of a sudden it evolved into like, well, hold on, Baker's starting to get better. He's getting better. He keeps getting better. But again, that's weeks in the system. And that goes back to this Deshaun Watson thing. Like, let the man get comfortable. We don't need to blow it up right now.
Right. And
get me worked up on
there are sometimes though that it does, kind of go along with that. If you look at like the Boston Celtics of last year, whenever Kyrie, left the lineup, they were a better overall team. Now, I don't think that that's the case because Kyrie, as we've seen, is just a head case. And I don't think Odell gets that sort of rap, but I don't think that's the type of guy that he is. So I think that I would personally, for me, I would love to see another season with Baker and Odell just to see if they can work it all out.
Yeah, Baker was always we know he was trying to force the ball to Odell that first year that he was here, and we needed the culture to be set first before, and someone to then take the reins as the leader and be the extension of the coaching staff on the field, and that's what Baker had to learn. The only thing that I ever liked that Hugh Jackson said was that he's about wins, or I believe it was one of the Cavs coaches, but one of the coaches here in Cleveland said they're about wins and lessons. Wins and lessons. The difference between
you know who that was? That was John Beilein.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jesus.
Oh boy. All right, let's
that dude.
So you learned from John Beilein. There we go. Yeah.
But the difference between something like that just being coach speak, which translates to being full of crap, versus a coach that actually is a leader of men and can get guys to buy in to those cliches in a bigger culture that they're trying to build, is how you actually approach it. Kevin Stefanski was able to put his stamp on this team. Baker was then able to learn lessons throughout the year. He made one mistake in one game. You didn't see that in the next game, and he took his game to the next level in that same game. Now that he has gotten his confidence, his swagger back, and people may say that him clapping back at fans is, he was so good about not clapping back this year. I don't want to see Baker going back to that guy. He was legit in clapping back in this instance, and he has established himself as a leader of this team, and the culture is there. So now I want to see the culture and this Baker Mayfield with Odell Beckham Jr. not having to worry about, even if Deshaun Watson is better, which I think he is slightly better like you guys do too, but not having to worry about bringing another quarterback. Let's just see this thing retool, reset, and let's go after it next year. Let's try to get further with the same core group of guys, add some pieces, and let's hit the ground running instead of this, let's hit the reset button.
Right.
But in terms of Deshaun Watson, Jordan, and I'll close the NFL talk before we get to basketball here real quick, is there a spot that you see him actually going to? And after what happened with the Matthew Stafford-Jared Goff trade yesterday between Detroit and L.A., where is that trade value now for Deshaun Watson?
You take like 15 number one overall picks.
Did we lose him?
Oh, we may have lost him.
I think we lost him.
We'll try to get Jordan Climack back, but I want your thoughts real quick, Paulus. I mean, on Deshaun Watson and even kind of the whole scenario where we've gone from Deshaun Watson like not even thinking about it to then it becoming a conversation. But where can he go to be successful? Because we know how good he is.
Yeah, I once again, we know how successful Deshaun Watson is. We know that he's a baller. We know that he's a Pro Bowl quarterback. We know that he's been putting up amazing numbers out there. That all being said, it's not worth it if you're going to trade all of that for one player. We're not one player away from winning the Super Bowl. I truly don't believe that. I think that we're still a couple players away, and that's nothing to besmirch the Browns' overall season there for us. I thought that 11-5 was fantastic. We probably realistically could have been 12-4, possibly 13-3. A couple of breaks go our way. That being said, you still are a couple of people behind, and you saw that in KC. You need a pass rusher. You need another corner. Obviously safety help would be fantastic. So you need some of those picks that you would essentially trade away to get Deshaun Watson, someone that is slightly better than Baker, still wouldn't have won you that KC game by himself.
Right. You said it. You hit the nail on the head. All the assets you have to give up, especially now, and as we're getting Jordan back in here in a second, with all the assets that I'm sure the value has gone up, and I'd love to hear Jordan's thoughts on that here in a second. But also, you're not just one player away. But even if you were, it's not in that position. Yeah. You feel like you have solidified the quarterback position. Now you've got coach, quarterback, culture. Build from there.
Right.
Now, we do bring Jordan Klimek from ESPN Cleveland, a producer and content teammate over there back in. We were kind of talking about that value for Deshaun Watson, where he may go, and how many assets teams are going to have to give up now after seeing what Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff what those two teams were able to do.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Not sure what happened there. I guess technical difficulties following me everywhere I go, right?
It's technology, man. It's supposed to help, but
gotta love it.
You gotta love it.
So to get back to the Deshaun point of where I see him going, so I think that a little bit of a precedent was probably set with Matthew Stafford trade in terms of it's going to cost you at least a couple of first-round picks, but that goes without saying with Deshaun. I think it's more of the Jared Goff being involved in the trade, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, like if you give us draft picks, but you also give us a young quarterback that we can figure out, because a team that's trying to win right now, they don't have the luxury of having the time to try and figure out if a guy is the guy or not while they're trying to win. Team that's trying to rebuild, like the Jets or someone along those lines, they can afford to see if Jared Goff is the guy or not. But I think that where it comes down to, it's Jets or it's Dolphins for me. I think Dolphins more along the lines that, like I said, like the Rams, you can include Jared Goff in that pick, but for the Dolphins, you can include Tua. Send Tua over to the Texans, and now all of a sudden the Texans get to get their draft picks back. And it's funny that they're even in this situation because they traded away like every single. Bill O'Brien was like having like drive-throughs, like giving away like drive-through donations, giving away first-round draft picks for like 3 or 4 years there. So they screwed themselves into the point of needing draft picks. So at that point, you're going to have to say you're not going to settle for anything less than 3 first rounds. I think probably going to be the price tag on the first rounds, probably include a second or a third in that as well. And then probably Tua if you're the Dolphins. And that way the Texans can decide if he is their guy. If not, they have a couple of draft picks to use on the guy who may be their guy. So I think that makes the most sense just from a how the assets line up standpoint, guys.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot involved in anybody trying to get Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. They can come out and say that they're going to keep the guy. He's going to be traded. But it's going to be how much you have to give up. I'm just glad that a lot of us are more so in reality, living in reality right now, that we don't have to have these deep-rooted conversations about so many guys about, what do we have to give up? How many draft picks? What is it going to take to get this guy, so the Browns can finally turn things around. We did, so we can move on. I do want to switch.
Not to mention all these coaches, man.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
The Texans just hired a guy who I had to Google his name. They hired this guy.
Yeah.
I have to take out my phone.
What was his name? Dave
Cauley?
Yeah, Cauley. The worst passing game, in the NFL. Yeah, let's hire that guy.
Yeah. We've been down.
How refreshing is it, man?
It's fantastic.
We were that team for so long that people were like, what the hell are they doing? And now we're able to sit back and say, no, what the hell are you guys doing? It's unbelievable.
We've been down that road. We don't need to be down that road anymore. The fact that I even got heated or frustrated just reading and listening to people talk about this throughout the week in Cleveland, we don't need that. I've moved on. Everybody else, move on. Baker's our quarterback. Let's figure out how this team can get better. Switching gears, though, with you, Jordan, to the Cavs. The Cavs are, I believe, 9-10 on the season, just losing and really not showing up there in the Mecca of basketball up there in New York against the Knicks. They got a game tonight against the 4-14 Minnesota Timberwolves. Just start here. Where do you stand with the Cavaliers? Who is this team really?
It's a good question. So I think that I think the Cavs, I think there's enough of a sample size to at this point, 19 games. And you got to think the season shortened by 10 games. So really you're kind of looking at this as like a 30-game evaluation right now rather than the 19-game evaluation just because of how the season is shortened. It's just 72 games this year. So I think that the Cavs are kind of what we've seen, if that makes sense. And by that, I mean they're kind of a team that's going to float around 500. they're going to have nights where they come out and lay an egg when you kind of expected them not to against the Knicks. And then they're going to have games against those two, like those two against the Nets, where you're thinking, okay, well, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, like, do we have any chance of winning this game? And then the Cavs come out and absolutely ball and get the win in both those games. I think that's the kind of team that we're going to see all year, and that speaks to how young the team is, kind of how immature they are. And I don't mean that in a bad way, right? Like, I mean that in a way of like, there's still a lot of room to get better, and they're already improving. I mean, leaps and bounds, as we've seen from Sexton, Garland, who's become like one of my favorite players of all time in the last month or so, just watching him handle the ball and everything he's been able to do and how he's taken his game to the next level. But the main thing with this Cavs team, guys, has been the play of Andre Drummond this year. And it's been really awesome. It's been fun. It's been exciting to watch an engaged Andre Drummond. Because when we made that trade, I was kind of thinking, like, what are we going to get with him? Are we going to get a guy who is like, oh, I just went from Cleveland or Detroit to Cleveland, like, whatever, I'm just going to get my bag and I'm just going to chill? Is that the kind of guy we're going to get? No, we got the exact opposite of that. I think JB Bickerstaff challenged him in the offseason to kind of become that veteran voice in the locker room, a guy that's going to lead these young guys. And I think he's really embraced that role, excelled in that role. And you kind of see that the team kind of feeds off of his energy. He's had a lot of games where he's came out slow and the Cavs kind of start slow. And he's had a lot of games where he comes out blocking shots, dunking balls in the first couple minutes. And, you know, the Cavs come out and play with a fast start. And not to mention what he's done on the defensive end. The Cavs have been the top 5 defensive efficiency team all year. I mean, we're only talking about teams like the Lakers who are ahead of them. You know, they got a lot of ways to go on offense. I get that. But, you know, to answer your original question, Kevin, I think that this is kind of a 500 team that's going to surprise you some nights, and some nights it's going to disappoint you.
Jordan, for this Cavs team, do you think that there's a possibility that not only Colin Sexton gets a all-star nod, because I've seen nothing but a ton of love out there, especially on social media, for Colin to get there, especially him averaging 24 points, close to, I think he's 4.5 assists a game right now, you know, so the highest of his career there. But do you also think that Andre Drummond might be able to get in as well?
I do. I think that both of those guys, I don't like, as we're looking at it right now, I don't know how they could possibly get left out of the conversation, but for whatever reason, the national media, kind of just the national aura around Colin Sexton has kind of always been underwhelming. And I mean that in the sense that, you know, there were multiple times where it was like, how did he not make this, whatever nonsense game they do at the NBA All-Star break,
the rookie
like
rising stars, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like how he was not in that game last year and the year before is kind of like almost like that Isaiah Thomas gif, right? Where it's like, I don't know what went into making that decision.
Thought I qualified.
I did the criteria, but
Yeah.
I wasn't selected. Like that is the perfect meme or gif to go with just describing Colin Sexton and being left out of the national conversation in the past couple of years. I definitely think that he's on the map. I think he's on, you know, I listen to a lot of NBA podcasts. I read a lot of NBA writers, and he's definitely on the radar now. And then the Cavs are, as a whole, are on the radar now as a team that, you know, like I said, it's going to surprise some people this year. So I do think that is very possible that both of them make it. I'm trying to think of a center in the East in particular who's been playing better than Andre Drummond, and really the only name that comes to mind is Joel Embiid. Now, I mean, that's kind of Joel Embiid's playing at a different level. He's playing at an MVP level right now. It's kind of, he's playing at the level that we've all like, come on, reach that level. He's finally at that level. So I don't know. He's the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head that's having a better year in terms of centers in the NBA in the Eastern Conference right now. But again, it's all going to be what that national conversation is around these guys. And I think people are starting to take notice, guys. The Cavs are putting themselves on the map.
Well, and I think the unfortunate thing, whether right or wrong for Colin Sexton, is the loaded backcourt that is in the Eastern Conference and the guys to have to pull from, whether for fans voting now and then when the coaches kind of fill out those rosters moving forward. And then, of course, they go through and get selected to how they're going to operate, who's going to be on whose team. Andre Drummond has better path because limited amount, as you just said, limited amount of big guys have been playing better than him in the East, so got to make the team. But you always see those trades start to happen once the All-Star break is done. You kind of talked about what you think this team actually is. What do you think they should be? What kind of team should they be? Should they be a team that's looking to trade guys like Andre Drummond and contracts like that, and maybe still try to get into the lottery side of the draft? Or are you of the belief that getting that experience, getting that playoff experience actually helps a team more if they're progressing towards that way and still follow that path? Which team should they be? We know where they are. Who should they be this season?
That's another good question. And I think that, it's funny because I think that going into this season, I would think that, you put the lasso of truth under Kobe Altman in this Cavs front office. I think that they would tell you like, hey, going into this year, we thought like, we probably would be sellers at the deadline, or we'd be sellers all year because, ultimately we're just trying to develop young players and see how they mesh together with a young coach as well and kind of see how that develops. Then all of a sudden you start winning ball games. All of a sudden you start, starting to show signs that you're developing quicker than maybe we thought you would. And I think that the Cavs have to look themselves in the mirror and have that conversation fairly quickly if they haven't had it already of what we're going to do. Are we going to be buyers? Are we going to be sellers? I've seen a lot of people say, and I'll listen to the conversation because I agree with it somewhat, that, the Cavs need to get back into the lottery because they need another guy that, at the end of the game, when the game is tight, we don't really have many options. You don't really like to throw the ball to Drummond and say like, hey, try and go get us a basket, because you do that, he runs the risk of getting fouled. We all know he's not the best free throw shooter. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, so Colin Sexton's really the only guy, I guess, that we have right now that you can give the ball to and say like, hey, we just need a basket, right? Like, put your big boy pants on, go to the basket, get us a jumper, get us something, get us back in this game, get us the bucket that we need. So I think that, there's not many other guys on this team that can do that. And I think Garland could be a guy like that. I think that there's a chance, Love obviously is a guy like that, but is there an APB
Is
out
he
on
even,
him?
I was going to say, is he even on the team still?
Yeah, I saw that he got engaged earlier today.
Congrats.
So shout out to him for that. But I mean, him and like I don't know where he's doing. I pretty much look at the Cavs as not having him at this point, just because we haven't all year.
Best ability is availability
without him.
Best ability is availability.
Exactly, man. And so, but guys, to answer your question, like I think that we need to be buyers, and it's for that exact reason, Kevin, of playoff experience, and we've saw it with the Browns. We're going to see how it plays out next year with a young team, a young nucleus. And look, the NBA is a lot different than the NFL because in the NBA, we all know that tanking happens. It's no big secret. It happens every year. Multiple teams punt on years. It's harder to do that in the NFL just because, it's grown-ass men going up against one another in a physical sport. Like, It's just harder to happen in football.
Even the Jets have to win a game.
Yeah, but like you think about it, like it's like for these young teams that like look at the teams that have been in the lottery for years. It's the Kings, it's the Cavs, it's these teams at the top that just can't seem to get out of their own way, and it's because you have young players who are brought into a system who are taught. I don't want to say they're taught to lose because, the coaches are trying to win games. The players are trying to win games. It's about who's being put out on the floor. Like, they're not stupid. They can see the writing on the wall if we're trying to win or if we're not trying to win. I think that poisoning your locker room with that losing mentality of we don't want to win, we want to see what we can do for the future is just terrible for the development of young players. So I think from the Cavs perspective, you have to look at yourself and say, we have young talent. We have two young guards. We have a young forward. We have two young forwards. I've liked what I've seen out from Dylan Windler. I think he can be a really good role player. Still young. He missed his entire year last year. This is essentially his rookie year. Obviously, you have Okoro, just turned 20 years old. Like, you have the young core in place. Add Jared Allen to it. He's 23 years old. He can grow with his young core as well. It's time to let them experience winning, getting to these spots of the playoffs. Maybe it's that play-in tournament that we're going to see at the end of the year, but getting them valuable pressure minutes where you can say, okay, we were in this situation. We didn't quite get it done this year, maybe, but at least we know what that experience is like. We can use it to our advantage going forward. We got to stop with this nonsense of tanking and poisoning the minds of these young players and teaching them losing. Like, stop that. Like, try and get better. Try and teach these guys winning and see how they develop that way. Like, that's the way the Cavs need to go. I think they need to be buyers. We can get into what that's going to cost them, what they want. I think we need another shooter. I think that the three-point shooting has been a huge disappointment this year. Getting Windler back should help that. Getting Love back, if we ever do, should eventually help that as well. But it's like, do you trade a Drummond? Do you like who do you trade at that point? So I don't know. And the Cavs, they have assets, that's for sure. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But Kevin, I'm a buyer right now, man. I am.
I'm right there with you. I'm a buyer too, and I think that you brought up the differences between the NBA and the NFL. I think the other difference is that you're dealing with a lot younger players. You're banking on them being your core at a much younger age than when guys come in from the NFL, just based on the way the NCAA rules and those professional rules are set up for when these guys and gals can make the jump from college to professional ranks in all the different sports. And I think in the NBA too, the NFL, you can establish a culture right away and you can turn things around very quickly. Even with more games in the NBA and more opportunities to get on the floor, I think some organizations that do want to tank, as we know goes on, they kind of inhibit the culture from being established before they actually feel like they've gotten enough talent to get together, and they don't go about evaluating the talent right and if it's actually going to fit together and if you're going to be able to get one culture over those guys too. So the Cavs being able to get in the playoffs is going to be huge. I'll get you out of here on this, though, Jordan. And Jordan Climack from ESPN Cleveland, we appreciate you taking this time out tonight to join us. And we'll have you back on to talk more basketball as the year goes on and we get into those lonely months without football to talk about in just some off season.
It was a lonely day, man.
Yeah, it was I had a chill day today, you know.
Oh,
but,
I watched a little golf, but I mean, it was no a Sunday without football it just doesn't feel quite right, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I was missing something today.
Yeah, it was vintage video game for us at the apartment today, so it was a nice Sunday to kind of stay inside. But I get you out of here on this with the NBA. We know who the big boys are in the league, who the favorites are, but the Cavs have been a surprise this season. Outside of the Cavaliers, which team or maybe even player, where has the biggest surprise this NBA season been for you so far in 2020, 2021?
Just a trio of great questions here, Kevin. But
I'm trying to be professional, you know. I'm trying to get to where you guys are, man.
That's what he does. That's what he does.
I'm trying to get to where you guys are.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. I love to see it. But to answer your question, to me, I'm going to go back to Joel Embiid. I've been really impressed with the Sixers this year. It was funny watching that game. I don't know if you guys watched that Sixers-Lakers game the other night. But,
I did, yep.
Sixers won, and it was the first time the Lakers lost on the road all year, which is insane to think about. I mean, you can look at it from the perspective that's like it's different traveling on the road and not playing in front of fans, really. I get that, but still, they were like 11-0 or something like that on the road before losing that game.
And LeBron loves silencing fans anyways, so.
Yeah. Right.
He's just in his comfort zone anyways.
But watching the Sixers play that game, I was thinking to myself, like, to your point, like, we know the Lakers are the top dog. Like, they've gotten better and they won the title last year. So it's who's going to have the best chance of knocking them off. I think they're almost like a pencil in the West, barring some catastrophic injury. But so then I look at who has a chance to. I don't really think the Clippers do. I don't think, the Bucks do. They haven't proven anything to me in the playoffs. And then I look at the Sixers and what they stack up nice against the Lakers, man. They do. Like, who's going to guard it? And like Joel Embiid, the way he's playing right now, and that's why he's my answer for this question is like we've always been saying, like I said earlier, it's like, all right, Joel, like when are you going to take that next step? Like, stop getting gassed 10 minutes into the game. Like, get some air in your lungs, man. Like, get in shape. Kind of become this dominant guy that we've expected you to be ever since you came into the NBA out of Kansas. And, he's one of those guys that was like a late bloomer, like didn't start playing basketball until he was like 16, something like that.
Right.
So it's insane that he's even as good as he is right now and still has room to get better. But him taking that next step made them the true threat to the Lakers, in my opinion, because like I said, you can go to him. There's no one that he can score. Like, he can score against the Lakers. There are a lot of guys that just can't score just because of the matchup. And then you look at, just talking Sixers Lakers here, you look at Ben Simmons. Like, if you're going to build a guy, like if you're going to say, like, give me a perfect body of someone or the perfect physical attributes or perfect skill set of someone to defend LeBron, I'm not saying that he's going to stop him because obviously, LeBron's arguably the GOAT.
I was going to say, LeBron's LeBron.
Just,
come on.
Yeah. No, but just give him, just make him sweat, just kind of, make him work a little harder for his baskets than he has to normally. I think that watching Simmons and Embiid kind of develop
Yeah.
together into what we really expected them to be when they were paired together, over those, trust the process years. I think that's been the biggest surprise to me. And like I said, it's all because of Joel Embiid taking that next step. And now, putting the Sixers on the map as a true contender. And I think that if it gets to it, I wouldn't say I would take the Sixers over the Lakers. That now it's way too early to make any of those calls, but that's definitely the best matchup. And like I said, it comes from Joel Embiid, so he's definitely my biggest surprise, other than of course our beloved Cavaliers.
Absolutely, gotta look outside of the league sometimes too. And of course Joel Embiid got his signature shoes from Under Armour, the first actual shoe from Under Armour that I actually like the look of. His first one is way better than any of the Steph Curry's. In my humble opinion, I'm telling you, those shoes are gonna break down. And if kids try to wear those shoes, they're gonna break down in them. But don't want to see that happen. But Jordan, Jordan, we appreciate you jumping on with us tonight. Jordan Klimek of ESPN Cleveland. You're welcome on anytime. We'll talk more basketball anytime that you want. Just hit us up. We'll hit you up and get you on, okay?
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. Had a lot of fun. Keep up the good work, guys. You guys are doing great, man.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it. That is Jordan Klimek, producer and content team member over there at ESPN Cleveland, with our own Nick Paulus as well. And he broke down a lot. I think that was kind of we allowed Jordan to be our voice tonight. We say we're the voice of the land. We allowed him to be our voice tonight. And said a lot of stuff, especially in terms of what I know everybody wanted us probably to talk about and everybody thought we would talk about. Spent a lot of time on Deshaun Watson or Baker Mayfield or you trade for him or anything. I think all three of us are on the same page in that regard, that while Deshaun Watson, if you just compare quarterback to quarterback, and you're not talking about one being on this team or the other, quarterback to quarterback, Deshaun Watson is a slightly better quarterback. And I love watching Deshaun Watson play when they're not playing against the Cleveland Browns. One of those players that you tune in for, and if you have a game that's outside of your team's window, one of those guys I got to see play. I got to see at least a half of him play. Whether their team is good or not, you got to see Deshaun Watson play. But Baker is on the right direction to getting to that level, to now equaling that playing field if he hasn't already. But what Baker means to this team and what this team is trying to do, it's not a consideration. That is not anything against Deshaun Watson. That is not. Deshaun Watson is a great player. But for what the Browns are trying to do and what we have asked them to do for so many years, and the whole cop-out of, well, fans don't know how to act because they won. We've been told by people that have been through the 80s and everything what this city can turn into. We saw it with that parade that Jordan Klimek got to host a show for. We're doing shows down at First Energy Stadium where no fans are there, but fans are driving through, literally hanging out of doors.
Going crazy. It was a pep rally.
Maybe not in the best way, but people are trying to come together as safely and as best as possible because we know what it means for the Browns to be good. So that cop-out answer that fans don't know, you're the same fans that have asked for what we have been looking for that we just got this season. If you want that to continue, you got to give this team, coach, quarterback, culture, and everything else in between another year to see if they can take it a step further or more.
We just haven't seen it enough yet. Everyone's concerned that this is going to be a flash in the pan season. I know everyone's concerned about that. I don't think it is, because you finally have the quarterback, coach, GM combo correct. And that is like the trifecta. If you're going to nail anything, you got to nail those three. Coach, quarterback, GM. As long as they're all in unison, perfect. Everything else should work out great. There for us. And we finally do have that. I think people are, once again, just concerned that, oh my God, we won 11-5, but we could have gone, like I said, we could have gone 12-4, 13-3 if things broke our way. I don't think that we need to rush to judgment, and there is no way on God's green earth Andrew Berry is even considering this sort of trade. No. If he's considering any trade from Houston, pick up the phone. I guarantee you J.J. Watt is available. Now, $17 million is a hefty price for a 32-year-old defensive end that will probably never make another Pro Bowl there for us. I think he only had like 5 sacks this past year, 2 in one game. I think it was like week 2 he had it. That being said, it's one of those things where it's like I still would like to get J.J. Watt on this team because he gives me that Olivier Vernon sort of vibe that he can break out at any point in time. It just depends on if he's healthy. And we saw that from OV this year. Whenever he was finally healthy, he was playing out of his mind. I think he ended up with 8 or 9 sacks on the year there for us, which was fantastic. But he ended up getting injured at the very end of the year. He probably would have been a difference maker against KC if we had OV out there. Imagine if we had, J.J. Watt out there opposite of Miles. Like that. Yeah, that gets my blood boiling. That gets me like, lively. Getting Deshaun for Baker, I'm like, okay, cool. You're gonna sell some jerseys. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I want to win football games. Get J.J. Watt or someone of that sort of ilk, that has that sort of promise, opposite of Miles.
Yeah, and the J.J. Watt conversation is one that legitimately want to have on this show in more depth.
We'll get into it for sure.
And we will as the offseason goes on. But like you said, I mean, who knows if Deshaun Watson would match up with Kevin Stefanski's philosophy anyway. Right. Like you're taking so many ifs.
You'd assume so, but
right.
But you're assuming.
Yes.
We just saw Baker go 26-8.
And you know what happens when you assume.
Make an ass out of you and me.
Yes. So we're not doing that. We'll talk about J.J. Watt and what he, like if we would go for him, what he may be worth in a trade and money-wise moving forward. But I think that would be a big get for this team and this defense because, again, he's been the face of the Houston Texans for so long, given almost life and limb to that team, going all out. Just like a guy like Joe Hayden did for the Browns, even in bad years. Yeah. He did that for us, and he wasn't always available, but because he was giving everything he had.
And I still feel like Joe Hayden would have been excellent on this team. He had his best year this year. Unfortunately, he got knocked out of with COVID the last couple of games that probably would have been beneficial going against us, but like Joe Hayden would have been a difference maker for us.
Would have been a difference maker, and the reason why he had a great year with Pittsburgh, as much as we hate the Steelers, I say it all the time. Yes, we hate the Steelers. The reason why he had a great year is exactly what I was thinking when he did sign with them, is that I knew that would happen because now the pressure was off. He wasn't the face. He could just go be Joe Hayden, whatever he had at his age each year. Right. He would be able to do that and fit into a system that they always have a great defense over there. We know that the face of this defense is Myles Garrett here in Cleveland. J.J. Watt wouldn't have that pressure on him. And he's still a guy that instills fear in planning for your offense to plan against guys on the other side. And we've talked about how we need 2 guys, one on either side. And then if the pressure's off J.J. Watt, you could see some better years out of him. I'm not saying anything, outlandish or whatever.
I mean, at max, you're getting 2 years of JJ. At max.
Right. But if you're going to capitalize on this window with the money and the contracts you have while extensions are coming,
right,
when those kick in, if you want to...
It's a 2-year window.
Before they do,
yep,
you got to take advantage of that window. Now, before we get out of here tonight, we did tease in our description tonight that we were going to talk... We are all Marvel fans, and we've been focused so much on the Browns. Before we joined Big Play, just for everybody that tunes in and doesn't know, we actually talk. We'll talk food. We'll talk movies. We'll talk all of that stuff.
Everything.
We are big Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Stocks now.
Stocks. I mean,
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
Is there anything we haven't touched on this show throughout our time?
Political stuff. I mean, we've talked.
Oh yeah.
I'd be fine with leaving that out.
I was gonna say we try not to talk about that, but
if I don't know money, I really don't know politics.
Epidemics, stocks, Marvel, DC. We've talked about it all.
Yeah. So like one of the 2 hot button issues in comic book life right now, and even in Marvel or DC, of course, the Snyder Cut date for Justice League just got released. I believe that is March 18th.
18th, yeah. So right around St. Patrick's Day. Right,
and it's Snyder was the original director of Justice League. He had a story, and unfortunately had a tragic loss in his family. He had to back out. So Josh Whedon, who people know from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for
douche apparently.
Apparently, but somehow it worked for Marvel, but it didn't work in DC. Maybe he was I don't know what happened. I'm not going to even speculate.
Yep.
But Josh Whedon didn't get very good reviews.
Have you ever seen the? I mean, obviously, Batman versus Superman. I think we've all seen that. Correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you ever see the uncut version of Justice League or that?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, like, for Batman versus Superman, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I like that movie.
Okay.
I'm not in love with it. I like it.
Yeah.
The uncut version or the director's cut, it's like 3.5 hours long. It's a long movie, but it's worth it. Like, it fills in all of the gaps where you're like, why did they do that's stupid? Why would they do like it actually does fill in a lot. You have to have 3.5 hours to your time.
Yeah.
And now Justice League, whenever it comes out, the Snyder cut's going to be 4 hours
4 hours, and it's his take on it, so it's not just filling in gaps. Like it's the direction, the direction that he wanted to go with Justice League, and people are going to get that in there. Do you guys think we'll ever get like a director's cut or like extended version of Endgame or anything?
No, because I think it ended exactly how a lot of people thought it would. Like, I think you'll see, like...
Because I know people said that there was gaps in that movie, too.
Sure. I mean, they had to split it up.
Yeah.
They had to split it up to 2 movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a 5-hour movie had they wanted to do it, the original way, which we all would have sat there. It would have taken our money anyways.
I would have.
But no, I think they did Infinity War and Endgame perfectly, straight down the middle. They had the bad, happen in Infinity, and then the good happen in Endgame. Spoiler alert. Right. But
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry, dude. Like I can't.
No,
I can't.
We won't get into it, but we do need to talk about
WandaVision because we know that Endgame was basically the end of that first big phase. Spider-Man: Far From Home was the kind of the tidying up there.
Correct.
But they're getting into those new phases, and we finally got one of these shows we were promised: WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier,
which is coming in March.
Have you guys seen WandaVision, and where do you stand on that? Because I know it's kind of a polarizing thing on Twitter.
It is. I want to get your guys' opinion first.
I got you.
So, Peter.
Yeah, so Jacob and I watched, and Debbie joined us, and we watched the 3rd and 4th episodes last night.
I should say, if anybody has not seen them yet, tune out just in case any spoilers come out.
I'm going to try not to give any spoilers.
Try not to, but just in case.
Good luck.
The first 2 episodes, I kind of sat there going, okay, it's kind of interesting. I mean, because when I was a kid, I would watch reruns of like I Love Lucy and Bewitched, and stuff, and I love those shows, And so it's kind of going through those first couple episodes where they were that kind of genre,
right?
Wasn't sure what the heck was going on, But I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that they were trying that it was such a different thing, And if anyone's seen any of the episodes, there's parts where they go from the 4:3 old TV size to that extent, and so there's just a lot of little things in there that is just so damn well done,
right?
And now with the latest episodes, I'm just like, I'm really digging this, and it's at first I wasn't sure where it was going,
right?
And I really kind of am digging the way the path it's going down, or at least where I think it's going.
Sure.
So now I'm pretty excited to keep seeing what they do with it. So
yeah,
I'm really excited to see where they keep going with it. I was like you. Now my family brought me up on those old timey TV shows, so I was like, this is kind of cool. But then just seeing those characters and knowing what they've done in the past, as it goes on, it got stale quickly, and it's like I was so close to turning it off in that first episode, or like those first 2 that they released. But I think just taking a step back and reflecting on it, I think everybody not liking it comes from how Disney Plus tried to separate themselves from Netflix in terms of releasing series, anything like that, because they only do it one a week, really,
which is smart
because you make people like come back wanting more, like keep coming instead of just doing it all in one day. A lot of people, they want it now.
Of course.
So they see one thing and there's no direction. They don't have any sense that this could really take a turn to what I'm used to.
Right.
And you fall off the wagon. I did that too. But after especially this latest episode, Like I can't wait till the next one gets released on Friday for where they can take this.
You can't sign up for the 7-day free trial and binge it.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you
that's
gotta
what
wait until the entire thing's over and then try and do that if you wanted to. Yeah.
trying
right.
to get that money.
Right. Of course.
I cannot wait. Where are you at? Because I know I saw a couple tweets from you, but where are you at with this show?
The first 3. So it started off with the first 2 episodes. And Kelly and I watched it, and Kelly and I are both heavy into Marvel. Not so much, but like I sort of forced her to watch the movies, and then she started really liking them, and so like we're cool with it. We watched it, and she was like, "Nick, turn it off." Like she was like, turn it off. Those first 2 episodes were trash. And I was 100% agreement. I hated those first 2 episodes. I get what you're talking about growing up. Because I used to watch the I Love Lucy, the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
and,
the class,
the
Leave It to
classics.
Beaver.
All of that stuff. Bewitched. Yeah, all of that stuff. It was fantastic. But I wasn't expecting that. And like that's what threw me. So like I had in my mind, and I go into every movie, everything, like it's just who I am. I go in thinking like, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to go. And like, so I was all hyped up for it. In the first 2 episodes, I'm like, wow, that freaking sucked. And then the 3rd episode, I was like, it started revealing a little bit more, and it starts making you go, I think I know what that is. Or like, or like, they'll have little, like teasers and like, I'm like, you know what? I got that. I still didn't like it though. I still didn't like the 3rd episode. The 4th episode, as for everyone, once again, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it wraps up the first 3 episodes very well. And it shows you like what's going on sort of thing. As best as I can put it without throwing out many spoilers. But I enjoyed the 4th one. It got me back into it.
Back in.
You know what? It got me back in. The first 3, though, I'm not going to lie. Like I was telling people, like, don't watch it. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it. But I even told Tyler and Mark, I was telling them, I was like, just let me be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Like this show's crap right now. Let me be the guinea pig. I think it'll pick up in, episode 4, and we'll go from there. And I watched it. It did pick up. So I am happy about that. I am intrigued. I caught a lot of little bits, there for us. So I was like, and I was breaking it down for Kelly. I don't think she likes it still because like I have to explain everything to her. And nothing against Kelly, like she understands the stuff, but like she's like, I don't remember where I saw that person from. I don't remember this. I don't remember that. So I had to pause. Okay, this is where this is from. This is this.
I actually had to do that a little bit myself because I'm like,
I've seen him before.
There's
right.
a person that shows up, and I'm like, I know they're there, and I'm like, what movies were they? So it's Google's your friend.
Exactly.
But no, it's I see where you're coming from.
And like I said, like it hooked me back in. Yeah. So like I guarantee you, episode 5 is going to be crazy and awesome. Like that's where I'm at now. That being said, if it sucks, I'm going to be super pissed.
I think
it'll be really good.
I think I would have been disappointed if they dragged out the way episodes 1 and 2 were even further. But I did notice, and if anyone's seen this, is not a big spoiler.
Sure,
they're 1 and 2 were different decades.
Yes. Well, and so was 3.
Right. Yeah. And so I was like, well, where are they going to go with this? And I think it's, I totally get what you were saying because I'm watching it going, like, I finished the episode. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
But I was intrigued. See, to me, it intrigued me, and maybe that's just my background.
Like I said, it hooked me again.
It'll be a separate group chat because I can see all the theories kind of just like wanting to come out onto this table, but we're not going to do that because we don't spoil anything. The brilliance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though, is that they get it. So like, I'll never fully be out on that. While I love the DC characters, I can't get into the content they're putting out because if I don't like something, I shut it off. Like I'm just out. Marvel, I always have that one toe in the water, that 1 foot in the water, just to stay connected as much as possible. Because even if I don't like the whole thing, I'm gonna like parts of it. And what I loved about this series, not a spoiler though, is that they knew, because I know that they shot these things before and they're just kind of releasing them, and probably doing some final edits. They made mention to joke around about what people were saying about what they didn't like about those first few episodes.
Right.
They had that comedic relief in
They
episode 4 because they get it. They know what people want.
Right.
But they're gonna make you go and get it, and they know that
Marvel,
they've already hooked you.
Marvel will always go that extra mile,
Always
which is
do.
something that DC doesn't do, except for the Snyder Cut,
Right.
which finally, you know, like they're listening. But I am with you. Like Marvel, it's always gonna have me. Like I wanted to have a hot take on Hot Take Tuesday.
Yeah.
There for us on ECT, you know, at ESPN Cleveland with Fontana, and one of my hot takes was gonna be, you know, Marvel hasn't been the same since Endgame. Like
Right.
that was going to be my hot take. And then I thought about it and I go, but they're still going to hook me. Like
Yeah.
I know Falcon and Winter Soldier
Yes.
is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the Spider-Man movie, as much crap as I give Spider-Man, the way it sounds like
Yeah.
they're going to be bringing back a lot of things, that sounds awesome. Doctor Strange is going to change the way we think about movies forever, and I think the way that they end this WandaVision series is going to lead perfectly into,
Yes.
from what I've heard and
Yes.
from what I've read, it should lead perfectly into that. So
the bigger universe with the actual
Right.
movies, the cinematic.
it's going to be awesome.
But man, I'm always in.
I know.
Marvel. I'm always in on.
What I was going to say about that is Marvel makes me care about the characters.
Yes,
That's
that's
true.
perfect.
Because
Yeah.
I can watch a DC movie and I you know, I honestly don't give a crap about
Right.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne. I mean, there's
I do,
nothing that there's nothing
Right.
that emotionally, there's nothing in the movie that emotionally ties me to the character.
Yeah.
So old DC, like whenever,
Yes.
well, I say old DC, it was 7 years ago. Christopher Nolan, you know,
Yes.
like whenever he was making the trilogy, like you cared about
Yep.
Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. You cared
Yeah.
about, like, Ben Affleck. I loved his portrayal of Bruce Wayne as well as Batman. He was badass as Batman,
Yep.
throwing people around. It was awesome. But I understand where people, you know, like what you're saying, Peter. I understand because they'll kill off Superman, and you're like, oh man, but you're like, he'll be back. You know,
Yeah.
like, but like, you know, Vision, you're like, oh my God, Vision dies, and you know, in Infinity War, and then you're like, he's back. You know, like, you know, then you're actually caring about what's going on. So
Yeah, and to Peter's point, in those particular DC movies, I don't give a crap about those characters.
yeah,
I care about them from what I was brought up on in the actual comic
Sure.
books. I still care about the characters.
yeah,
And that's what gets me upset with DC is that I can't connect with how you've presented them here in this movie, but I can the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's why I'll always be in. We could do like whole shows on this, and I'm sure during the Browns off season and we'll get lulls where we'll do stuff like that. And
100%.
but also didn't really have many comments tonight, but we did have Jordan on, so we want to thank him once again. Jordan Climack from ESPN Cleveland for jumping on to join us tonight. We did get one comment at the end. Dave,
I was just going to say that.
Big play, Dave. Thank you. He
Yep.
said, you know, looking good, dudes.
And he also said, I need a Marvel movie having withdrawals.
Yeah.
So, hey, no,
We're right there with you.
I'm feeling you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think once again, WandaVision is going to get us to, you know, Falcon and Winter
Yeah.
Soldier, which should be amazing. And then I think what is the next movie? I know, well, it was supposed to be Black Widow.
Yeah.
And then I
That's
think that got pushed back to October. I know that they want to release Spider-Man at the end of this year, like around Christmas time. That might get pushed back. I hope that doesn't.
Right.
Because once again, I give Spider-Man a lot of crap, but like from what it sounds like could happen, I'm all for it.
I need one of those movies. Dave, I'm right there
Yeah.
with you. We need one of those movies.
What's the next big movie that you're really looking forward to? As we're way over time.
I know.
Like we'll wrap it up with this question.
It's Spider-Man for me. Like
So okay.
I am
Now any movie.
any
upcoming movie.
upcoming
Any upcoming, doesn't have to be DC or Marvel.
see just as a kind of a youthful innocence element to it,
Okay.
and my maybe excessive fandom, as people may say, for LeBron. Space Jam. Space Jam: A New Legacy.
I have to say it would be Spider-Man.
Spider-Man?
Yeah. That's really, I mean, that's
Batman's coming out, like Batman with Robert Pattinson. I'm intrigued with that, but honestly, Top Gun. The Top Gun sequel looks so freaking badass.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that movie. And Tom Cruise has said, I will not release it out to like streaming services. It has to be seen at the movies. And that bothers the hell out of me because they're just going to keep pushing it back until the pandemic's over. This thing ain't going away anytime soon. So they're just going to keep moving the movie back. It kills me. I want to see Top Gun so freaking bad. So
this pandemic, I lost 3 things that really get the goosebumps going.
Yeah.
And, like, one we got back, which is the world of sports. We're able to have round season.
Thankfully.
And able to still talk Cavs, Indians as that goes on. But losing the ability for Marvel Cinematic Universe to really take into that next phase, and that's all been pushed back. So I've kind of been accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And then the air show. So like Top Gun,
the air show, yeah.
So like jets, like that kind of energy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I make sure that I watch the practices of the air shows just so I know where the sneak attack could come from. Even though I know it's coming, I make sure that I put myself in a place where I am focusing on the maneuvers in front of me just so I can feel the goosebumps, the energy as that plane comes. Supersonic speed. You can't hear it until it's...
Those things are so sweet.
Oh,
they are.
I digress. And that is where we will end things tonight in a extended episode of The Voice of the Land. Of course, we want to thank one more time Jordan Climack, producer, content teammate from ESPN Cleveland, for taking time out of his night to join us. Go back and across all social media sites, tune in to the show there. We'll get clips posted throughout the week, and also the audio will be posted soon. But for my brother Nick Paulus and our producer extraordinaire, Peter Tellep, I'm Kevin Arnold, reminding all of you, as always, to all of you sports fans out there, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. And to all of our Marvel fans and to everyone in general in the world today, we truly love you all, 3000. We will see you for a special Super Bowl preview next week. Stay tuned for updates on that schedule. Until then, we'll talk to you soon.